Hello, I'm Chris, and welcome to the Movie Vault 666 one-year extravaganza. You know, after a year of making these episodes, I'm glad that I've got an action-packed ensemble of cameos and killer jokes, you know, to make up for all the other episodes. Anyway, 1 year, eh? And I got something in store for...
Rhubarb.
What's that?
Rhubarb.
Cancelled?
Rhubarb.
All of them?
Rhubarb.
Repeating everything you say? Oh, god damn it! Yeah, but at least we've only got lots of jokes coming up. What's that?
Rhubarb.
Oh yeah. Well, after a year, it's funny to think where I came from. 1 year ago, where was I? Well, I guess I was over there.
Memories.
This might actually be a downgrade. Oh, anyway, 1 year ago I reviewed a film called A Time to Die, and some of you may remember that it was not very good, really. Since then I've watched plenty of movies, but one of them kept niggling away at me because I couldn't help but feel that I'd heard of the writer somewhere before. You see where this is going, right? Anyway, it turns out that Charles T. Kanganis not only wrote A Time to Die, but also co-wrote today's digital coaster. In fact, Charles T. Kanganis co-wrote this a mere year before he wrote A Time to Die. Night of the Wilding is a film about bored teenagers. Sounds thrilling, right?
No.
Well, what about Eric Estrada and tedious legal scenes?
No.
Boy, are you fussy. Alright, well, let's just dive in and prepare to get our head trampled by Eric Estrada. That'll be funnier when you watch the... Show the film! The film opens with a voiceover telling us that a man named Anthony Bocelli has been found not guilty of murder in the first degree. After which we cut to Eric Estrada. Now this is Eric Estrada as you've never seen him before. The transformation is so incredible that you truly would believe that he was a hyper-intelligent and successful lawyer. How do they achieve this? Fantastic. Anyway, Eric Estrada's receptionist brings him some flowers from a client.
Congratulations on a brilliant defense.
Oh, he sent you some exposition. That was nice of him. It turns out that Eric, or Joseph Gaynor, to give him his character's name, is also to expect a visit from this Anthony Bocelli. However, he doesn't seem too keen to meet him.
No chance. He called from his car phone. He's downstairs.
We are then treated to Anthony's entrance to the building in all its glory, all the way up to Joseph's office. Although I would like to remind the movie at this point that it is not Get Smart, and I don't need to see every step of Anthony's journey through the building. So eventually Anthony and his goons arrive in Joseph's office, and the meeting of the Mullet Club can finally be in session. It turns out that Anthony has a present for Joseph, and it's actually a shoebox full of money. Probably dirty money. In fact, judging by the face of the goon who was holding it, probably really dirty money. Either that or he's pissed off that he doesn't have the hair for this meeting. Joseph seems hesitant to take the money, but he zones out quickly to this.
Anthony, you killed him, didn't you?
Well, judging by that, you were there.
Like you said, no crime committed if you can't find the body.
Oh yeah, sure. Except for the following. The credits roll while Joseph gets in his car to the sound of some very serious opening music. Even this section doesn't fill me with hope for this movie. We get plenty of shots of Joseph in his grey clothes as he looks perpetually bored and is repeatedly overtaken. The whole thing just looks like the world's dullest car advert.
The new Vauxhall Turtle. Tired of having to worry about going past the speed limit? Well, not anymore. Tired of having to slow down to get into parking spaces? Well, the Vauxhall Turtle takes care of that as well. Order now.
This is especially bad, as the only part of A Time to Die worth watching was the stupid out-of-place car chase. Eventually the music starts to resemble bad 80s sci-fi music as Joseph takes a walk down the street. Oh, cheer up, Joseph. Look at all the brand names around here. The music continues going, showing seemingly random images, until Joseph eventually walks past a tramp, giving him the money he got from Anthony. This might also be an Easter egg, as I'm pretty certain this is how the movie got financed. Well, whether that's true or not, the shopping cart is used to transition to our villains. Our villains are about to undertake a devious scheme to enter a supermarket and buy cigarettes and alcohol whilst underage. Oh, the horror! Well, let's see how this goes.
Couple packs of Marlboro.
Hey!
Oh, foolproof.
The money? Jerk.
So having already been caught, Carl, the leader of the gang, has to think on his feet.
You paid for it.
And with the battle of wits clearly engaged, Betty, the cashier, does something no one could have seen coming.
Security to the front. Security to the front.
Tattletale.
Well, okay, he's stealing beer, but isn't this a legal drama? I can't really see this being the most interesting case. Well, fortunately, the film immediately escalates to a comic level, as the gang nearly beat the security guard to death.
Come and see if violence inherent in the system!
Although they decide not to finish him after Alan intervenes.
Come on, man up, man! Call the cops!
Oh, come on, Alan. They did say they were going out clubbing. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm there all night. With the gang gone, we cut to a detective arriving to talk to Betty with all the warmth and personality of a burnt-out match. But it contributes very little before we cut to a new scene of some people waiting for Betty to return. She does very quickly, but she's been followed by the gang from earlier, because this wasn't already an open and shut case apparently. The gang decide to approach the house as inside it is revealed that there is a surprise party being thrown for Betty.
You guys. What do you think? You guys are too much.
Oh yeah, 3 people and some kids' balloons. They really went all out. So what else will be included in this wild party?
I feel like I want to take a shower. And then I want to get drunk.
Is it kind of weird to take a shower during a party?
Hey, I'll put some music on.
Oh, not too loud. The man next door is such an ass.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I walk around the house half naked. You'd think he'd like being our neighbor.
Yeah, but as your next door neighbour, how could he see it? Maybe the person across the road. Anyway, the reason for Betty taking a shower becomes pretty apparent when you remember that this is a 90s TV movie, and we're shown every second of her preparing for a shower, as well as most of her while she's in it. Eventually something odd does happen though. Something. Yeah, at this point, just plot points happening at all feel like a treat. In this case, it's the door ringing as the gang arrive at the front door, only several minutes after they decide to walk up it. What happened? Did they get lost? The gang are confronted by Betty's housemate Doris, who seems to have them outsmarted at the door.
Hello. Is Betty in?
We're friends of hers from work. She invited us over tonight.
She invited you tonight to a surprise party?
Yeah! Yeah, she did.
Come on in.
Whoa. Alan. Personal space, dude. Actually, is he the guy from Camp Blood?
The female of the species.
Either way, the man from the party raises a good question.
Hey, what's with the fucking bat?
This? We gotta be at baseball practice right after the party.
Is he frozen in time, or does he think that teenagers' vision is based on movement?
As a matter of fact, we should be practicing right now. Alan!
So the villains begin wrecking the place up and attacking the occupants, as the gang leader cracks the man in the face with a baseball bat, and Alan completely forgets that he's supposed to be the timid one.
Home run!
With the film actually having a bit of pace for a change though, it's good to see that there is still time to break things up with insert shots of Betty showering. The 3 then pin down Doris and, well... Rape is a tough thing to portray in film, And this one breaks it up with not only scenes of Betty showering, but also with her shower being broken by the gang leader. It's handled pretty horribly. Maybe not as badly as Undefeatable with its rape stake, but you've got to be good to pull it off well, and this film just doesn't. Remember, this is supposed to be presumably quite a powerful scene, and yet it left no impression on me almost at all. In fact, when my first reaction wasn't, oh my god, this is horrible, and instead was, why hasn't that guy gotten up yet? It may be lacking a little intention. Back to the film, and with the crimes committed, we catch back up with Joseph Gaynor, who will be defending the gang from the previous scenes as if he couldn't work that out. Joseph is handing in a plea of not guilty for his clients as the judge sets bail. The two share some meaningless dialogue before the judge reveals a shocking twist.
Mr. and Mrs. Gaynor?
That's Walters now, Your Honor. If it would please the court, Ms. Walters.
What would please the court is if you would conduct your reunion elsewhere, Ms. Walters.
That's right, they used to be married, and this promises to be wacky. After one or two scenes that don't go anywhere, Joseph meets with his clients and some of their families to discuss the upcoming trial.
Your name's Carl, isn't it?
Joseph thinks that a good public image could help sway the jury, although you'd have thought DNA evidence from their sexual assault with Doris would mean that this case is already more or less decided.
I have never lost a case, and I don't plan on losing this one. It's very important to win the hearts and souls and sympathy of the jurors. And get a haircut.
And finish your homework, and don't slouch.
You do believe they're innocent, don't you?
It's not important what I believe. The jury has to believe it. They can hurt him. I can't.
We'll see about that. In a brief scene with the prosecution, Miss Walters tries to convince her witnesses to take the stand. Doris seems reluctant, however Betty is adamant that she will take the stand.
I'm going on the stand, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to put those bastards away.
Yeah, they really should have reconsidered their gang name. Meanwhile, Joseph is reconsidering defending clearly guilty people for vast sums of money or something, I don't know. And while that's going on, Miss Walters is having one side of a really boring phone conversation, as if your pulses weren't racing enough already. With the film having ramped up the tension through that scene, Miss Walters arrives at Joseph's house, where the two characters show off their fantastic chemistry.
Hi.
Hi.
Come on in. Change your mind about dinner?
No, this is business.
Oh, well then. Enter.
Well, I see you've done very well for yourself.
Private practice, like I always told you, is the way to go.
Well, if it were corporate, I understand, but criminal, I don't know, Joseph. That I don't understand.
Well, then let me explain it to you. You do a good job, you get a guy off. Explain it to you. You do a good job.
Splash!
You get a guy off.
Come on, I paid like 500 for this. The guy ripped me off.
Check. How hard is that to understand?
It loses something in the translation.
What is that supposed to mean?
Case in point, Anthony versus Maxwell. Everyone in the world knew he was guilty, and you get him off on a petty technicality.
State versus Scott. A 68-year-old man gets a check for $125 tax refund. He keeps it to pay his rent, and you put him in jail.
It wasn't his money.
Oh, do you think he really knew that?
All right. Arnstein versus Connor, an open and shut case. That shouldn't have been in court more than 2 weeks, and you drag it out for 2 years. They lose crucial evidence because it went on for so long, and your client walked. I'll never forget that first case.
What, when we were married?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. The good old days.
Yeah, they were. Especially the night before your first case. When I held you in my arms and you cried yourself to sleep because you knew the man you were defending was guilty of molesting children. And you knew you had the power to get him off. And you did.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, now I hardly ever get anyone off.
See you in court, counselor. Do you believe in capital punishment?
Have you ever been arrested?
Do you believe in the judicial system?
When a woman says no, does she mean yes?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's almost as many unanswered questions as Prometheus.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peters. Accepted, Your Honor.
So anyway, eventually Miss Walters gets around to questioning a woman named Sally, who it turns out works in porn. However, at least it's not as degrading as being in this film, right?
Sally, let me ask you, in any of these films, were you ever asked to partake in a rape scene?
On a few occasions.
And how did it make you feel?
Well, let me put it this way. If I can help it, I avoid them.
You hear that? An actress would avoid a rape scene in this film, which has a rape scene. Which actresses? My brain. Back with the villains, they are understandably worried about the trial.
Going to jail. I would have last 5 minutes in that hole. You should have thought about that before you raped that girl.
Oh yeah, you were a model of innocence back at Betty's house, Alan.
You should have thought about that before you raped that girl.
It would be nice if Alan could stick to one villain cliche at a time.
Feel that power, Marty? Just a couple of hits with that bat and you feel that power.
Right. Tell me how powerful you're gonna feel in jail for 20 or 50 years.
No one is going to jail.
I don't want to go to jail!
You shut the hell up! No one is going to jail. We got the best lawyer in the state. Maybe even the country, and if that's not good enough, we'll take care of it ourselves.
Hey, what do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean?
The power.
Well, I'll ask a stupid question, right? Anyway, it seems that there's some sort of friction between our villains, as Alan's reverted to his wimpy personality and is considering sailing the rest down the river. However, enough of the marginally more interesting part of the plot, as it's time to return to the court part of the film. The prosecutor speaks first.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure you've heard this story a million times from your grandparents, a relative, your mother and father, who used to speak of a time when they would leave their front doors opened or unlocked and felt safe in their homes, when their neighbor would look out for them. Today, even with bolts and chains on our doors, we're still afraid.
Okay, I've had enough. Burn them. She goes on for a while about how several other attacks have happened and how the attackers claim to be bored.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Huh? Is that the sound the power makes then?
The prosecution will prove that these 3 young men brutally beat a security guard at the man's parking lot after they robbed the store. The defendants then followed Betty Trusky to her home, where they crashed her small birthday party and brutally beat again Bill Paxton, and then raped Doris and Betty.
Well, I guess the DNA evidence left behind from when they raped Doris will pretty much make this an open and shut case. Oh, except of course there won't be any, despite the technology being available. Anyway, she goes on for a bit, but having already seen that the defence is guilty and the rape having been handled so badly by the film, it really doesn't work.
Let's restrain these animals so they don't harm or rape anyone else again.
Yeah, like I said, burn them! Burn them all!
That was really lovely, how the prosecution painted her own Norman Rockwell lifestyle. But what the prosecution has really done is begin to plead my case. There is crime all over the city.
What are we waiting for? Let's get them. Well, unfortunately, this isn't a vigilante justice movie. There's no chance of a guy in a massive truck bursting in and firing a harpoon at people. Come back, the gladiator. You were comparatively interesting.
Law is about facts. The fact of the matter is that Betty Trusky and her friends were having a wild party. Personally, I never heard of people taking a shower during a party. You take one before, maybe one after, but during? So this has got to bring to your minds the question, what kind of party this is in the first place?
He's right, these people are sick freaks.
Somewhere along the way, the prosecution is going to say that the defendants were found inside the house.
Don't say an inside the victims. Don't say an inside the victims. So at this point, we do actually see Joseph as a pretty good lawyer, capable of getting guilty people off. So this little bit is actually to the film's credit. He even manages to deliver a little zinger during his opening remarks.
The prosecution did such a good job with my opening remarks. Maybe I should let her plead my whole case.
Whoa, tough crowd. Now here's a pointless little scene. Another lawyer named Paul talks to Joseph about a client of his, who was offering a lot of money to him to get him off from a charge of shooting a narcotics agent. Paul wants Joseph's help and is willing to cut him in for a large fee. Unfortunately, or given how dull anything resembling a courtroom is in this film, more like fortunately, Joseph doesn't take the case, which means that Paul's entire contribution to the film is, "Hey, can you help me out on the case?" "Okay." "Hey, you didn't help me out on the case." In fact, as far as I can tell, the only reason why Paul is in this or any movie is simply that he's played by Joey Travolta, and therefore one of the most famous people in this movie. Anyway, this scene doesn't really contribute anything else, but I'm still going to pick at it anyway. Partly because it has an extremely unfunny joke.
Through it's on me. Bon appetit.
You see, whatever this woman's name is, it's not too important that she only has about 3 lines of dialogue, doesn't like Paul, and so when Paul offers to pay for both her and Joseph dinners, she changes her order to be more expensive. It's funny, you see, because he's going to have to spend more money than he originally thought he was going to have to spend. Anyway, the other reason is this line.
No, Joseph, I kind of think you're a little too hard on Marion, that's all, don't you?
Well, that's funny, because if I remember rightly, Miss Walters, or Marion, was the one who was hostile towards Joseph.
Fine, look, Joseph, you probably won't understand, nor will you listen, but I'm going to try and explain it to you anyway.
And besides, isn't that line sounding a little familiar?
Why do you always say that? I am not on anyone's side.
Well, is this the only way that Charles T. Kanganis can write female characters, having them constantly take each other's side?
I am not sticking up for anyone. I just happen to think she's right all the time.
Oh, that's it. You're getting shot again. Next scene, and Marion maybe breaks up with her boyfriend or something. She has a conversation over the phone and we don't see him after that. But then again, we didn't see him before. He's only ever mentioned or talked to over the phone. So it's kind of hard to get too involved. I suppose that this scene was only put into the film so that the 2 lawyer characters could be single for their inevitable love scene at the end of the film. Anyway, at least those scenes, as pointless as they may have been, took place somewhat other than the courtroom, aka Snoozeville, population me. Well, this is taking too long, especially as the entire plot is resolved outside of the courtroom. Spoilers. So I'll try and move through this as quick as I can. Joseph calls in an ex-girlfriend of Carl's as a character witness.
I mean, he's always bringing me flowers and stuffed animals. I think I'm gonna throw up.
Oh, come on, Miss Fashion Critic. It was the early 90s. Films have taught me that every woman looked like they were wearing their curtains. Marion's next witness is Doris, who was reluctant about testifying as she was scared. She identifies the 3 villains, but for some reason Marion just leaves it at that. Joseph then goes and completely humiliates her with police reports and tries to convince her that she had already seen Carl before, completely discrediting her. So with Doris having been humiliated by Joseph, she seems more than reluctant to go back into court. So with Marion's main witness having been completely discredited, and DNA definitely not being an option, nor fingerprints on the baseball bat that would have proven that they smashed the place up, Marion has a masterstroke. Whine at Joseph for trying to win.
Why didn't you warn me about Doris?
It's public knowledge. Anybody can go through police files.
You think you're winning this case, don't you? Well, it's not over till it's over, pal. I'm gonna win this case. You know why?
Why?
Thank you. Because I don't get written up in Lawyer's Review. I don't win for me, Joseph. I win for justice. And that's a hell of a lot more than money can buy.
Yeah, well, sometimes money can buy justice.
Might I remind you that I, too, have never lost a case.
Seriously? Doesn't anyone ever lose cases anymore? Anyway, Marion decides to go have a final talk with her 2 remaining key witnesses, Betty and her male friend, who it turns out is called Bill.
We can win this case.
Look, Bill, we've gone over this 1,000 times. The defense is going to come at you with both guns loaded.
Why? Did they hire this guy?
Did you rape this woman? No. Did you rape this woman? No. Did you rape this woman? No. Did you rape this woman?
Yes, yes, whatever you say.
No further questions.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to relive the nightmare of that party.
Not only by my questioning, but by the brutal attack of the defense.
Look, I'm not Doris, okay? I got nothing to hide.
Yeah, we know that. We believe that. But we also know that you have a temper.
Hey, I want revenge, damn it! Those kids should die!
How dare you say I have a temper? I'll kill you! I'll kill your whole family! Ah!
Look, that's exactly what the defense is going to try and get you to do.
Listen, it's patience and composure that gets a jury's ear, not screaming for a hanging. Do not think revenge, think the facts. Now, let's go.
Cross-examination.
Mr. Paxton, you mind if I call you Bill?
Hey, I want revenge, damn it! Those kids should die!
Okay, sorry. I couldn't resist. So for some reason, we always seem to see one side of every witness's questioning. Either that or the other side will be cut short. In this case, we get to see Joseph take on Bill. Oh man, he absolutely destroyed Doris. What's he going to do to Mr. Composure over there?
Mr. Paxton, you mind if I call you Bill? No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Paxton. That's it? Yeah, that's it.
Well, more or less, anyway. He just asks simple questions and then leaves. So having asked Joseph to be less ruthless, and now that Joseph has obeyed, Marion storms into his office.
I want to know what the hell's going on.
What are you talking about?
Your cross-examination of Bill Paxton.
What about it?
It was non-existent. You interviewed him. You know he acts like Dirty Harry. A first-year law student would have had him screaming his way into a mental ward.
What do you want from me? First I'm too good, now I'm not good enough. What will make you happy?
To win this case and beat you at your best. If your clients are guilty, then cop a plea. If they're not, don't throw the case away for Christ's sake.
I'm guessing this is supposed to be another wacky, funny part of the movie. Oh, that was just to distract us so we wouldn't sense it coming when they threw us back into the courtroom legal drama again. Anyway, this time it's Betty's turn to take the stand, at which point she begins to woodenly read through her poorly written lines in a droning, monotonous tone.
Will you please tell the court what happened?
Well, out of nowhere came someone with a baseball bat, and the bat swung down and hit Bob on the arm, and then again on his back, and Bob fell to the ground. It felt like hours until I turned around and the boys were gone. Bob was lying in the parking lot. I was sure he was dead, but he wasn't.
Wow, I didn't realise that Bob surviving was the saddest part of that story, but certainly seemed to get her going.
Your Honor,
Anyway, Marion calls for a recess so that Betty can recover, and the judge pushes the trial back to the next day. So anyway, it's time to gleefully wave goodbye to the courtroom for now, as that's pretty much the end of this trial, and the pretense that this is actually a legal drama.
Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning.
Don't really know how to feel about it, really. On the one hand, no more boring trial, but on the other hand, it means that everything we've watched has more or less been a waste of time. So I suppose you're probably wondering how you write your main courtroom drama out of your courtroom drama, right? Well, step 1 is to have a recess. Step 2 is apparently to make your villain so unbelievably stupid that they plan to kill the lead witness, even though their side seems to be winning the case. So, here we go. The villains pull up outside the place where Betty is staying. Betty hears a noise and leaves her room momentarily to check it. When she returns, she checks her cupboard and is promptly shot and killed by Carl. He takes some things which, according to a line of dialogue, does succeed in fooling the cops into thinking it's a robbery. Now, this is where the plot goes a little screwy. Marion asks for a week to consider her next move. However, Joseph accuses her of buying time. Marion, however, says she has a new witness. So who is this new witness?
We don't have a witness. Who the hell is this witness?
The witness is me. I used a fake name and gave them my address.
Oh yeah, because of course that couldn't easily be checked out or get you arrested, disbarred and or killed.
What?
Hey, those bastards are guilty. Now it's my guess that they killed Betty. If they're scared, they'll come after me.
You're crazy. You're gonna get yourself disbarred. You're gonna get yourself killed.
Jack!
Jack, come back here and help me with my insane schemes. So with the villains now being completely paranoid of every witness for some reason, Carl decides they have to kill this one as well, despite not knowing anything about them or what they know. Alan decides that he just wants an end to the violence and offers to go to the police and confess to all the crimes as if he had done them all. Carl and the other team decide to kill him though, choosing a very subtle method: hanging. Carl then decides to finish the other guy off as well, catching him in the chest despite pointing at his head, and then goes on his own to the witness's house.
Nothing personal.
Actually, how does he know where the witness is? I'd have thought you'd have kept the address a secret to prevent, well, exactly this. Joseph is busy being boring at home when he gets a phone call explaining all the recent plot developments. He calls Marion and has to race over to... oh wait, she's perfectly fine. I guess we get to watch as our protagonist heroically reads his newspaper. Oh my god, it seems that Superman was Eric Estrada the whole time! At last, Carl arrives on the scene and knocks Marion's police guard unconscious. He then enters the house to take care of Marion. Oh yeah, I'm sure it was impossible to tell Carl and the middle-aged tubby police sergeant apart with that helmet on. Anyway, insert dull chase scene here before Joseph arrives, scaring Carl off. This film has finally transformed into a big dumb action movie. Unfortunately, it won't last for long. So after diving through a window, Carl escapes pursued by Joseph, who, despite running at about half Carl's speed, conveniently never loses ground. The best part of this chase, however, comes as the two leave a baseball ground, setting up one of the dumbest car crashes of all time. Thank you, Charles T. Kanganis. At least I can always count on you for big, pointless car crashes. Anyway, the chase comes to an end when Joseph catches up with Carl and tackles him into a pool, leading to a struggle between good and evil to the bitter end. Folks, I'm sure he's just subduing him so that he can have his day in court. God. Oh, that was dark. I mean, yeah, the guy wasn't nice, but wow. Anyway, it turns out that Joseph is now going to court because, you know, he murdered a guy 3 blocks away from where he committed a crime. But there's a twist. It turns out that Marion is now going to be representing Joseph in court. How hilarious. You see, because he was a lawyer and now he's going to court, another lawyer is going to have to represent him. Ha 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 ha. God, I'm alone.
The man is guilty. The man is a murderer.
It was self-defense.
Of course it was self-defense. It was only 3 blocks away from the original attack.
Self-defense. He's 10 blocks away from the original attack.
Ooh, 10 blocks. Yeah, he's screwed.
Guilty.
But of course, what am I thinking? That would only happen in a sane world. And this one has Night of the Wilding in it. So of course he gets off and he sits on a bench. The end.
That's it? Yeah, that's it.
So that was Night of the Wilding. And what did I think? Okay, I'm calmer now. Well, that movie was an abomination. Basically, it tried to be too many different genres at once. On the one hand, it wanted to be a legal drama, which it evidently wasn't capable of being. It tried to force a romantic comedy subplot in there that really didn't pay off. And then towards the end, it switched to being an action movie, which once again it failed at because it didn't have the time. The other thing about the action ending was that it meant that a lot of the legal scenes we'd watched earlier had been completely made redundant, and this did not help the film at all. In fact, it made me feel a bit cheated, really. The music hasn't held up well and probably actually would have been cheap and tacky even for the 90s, and the acting was often subpar. So, that was my 1 year anniversary. And if I crawl out of a bottle for the next episode, I'll see you next time. I'm gonna go for a swim. God, every fucking time.